With the pandemic, most of us cut down a lot on whatever travel we were doing. Journeys became few and far between, and when we did travel, it was maybe to some place close by. Now imagine going to the edge of space and back. Well, today we're meeting a young woman who did just that. Sirisha Bandla is Vice President of Government Affairs and Research Ops at Virgin Galactic. And about a year ago, she went right up there on the Virgin Galactic Unity 22 test flight with Sir Richard Branson and 4 others, beating Elon Musk in the journey to get up there in their own craft. And we'll be talking to her about her journey there and back. Okay. And we'll start right there. It's a question we're often told you don't ask people, but how did it feel when you were up there in space, looking down, looking around? What was that feeling?
Oh my goodness. I always, I reflect back and I keep coming back to the word incredible and amazing, and I just cannot describe it any other way. It's really an emotional feeling, almost a mental state it's hard to describe, which is why I can't wait till more and more people are able to experience this very transformative journey. And to be honest, I cannot wait until there's poets and professional communicators that go into space and come back and are able to just talk about the experience much more eloquently than an engineer could.
But I'm sure it must have just, was it life-changing? Did you feel different?
I didn't feel different, but, looking out on the Earth and seeing the thin blue line of the atmosphere really put into perspective how lucky we are and how fragile our planet is. And it was incredible to see I was looking out at the southwestern part of the United States. We talk about the states, but I saw no borders. And it put into perspective how divided we've become.
Yes.
And seeing the brilliant Earth just against, the matte black and void of space just made me feel small, but it didn't make me feel insignificant. So I returned back to the planet energized. Really energized to pursue, positive change for good and really appreciating what we have.
Absolutely. The divisions are meaningless. When we're just a little blue speck in space, the divisions are absolutely meaningless. Wow, it must have been absolutely fantastic.
It was absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to share it with so many more people. I truly believe, I know this is going to sound a little mushy, but I truly believe the more people that have seen that view, I think it will have a profound downstream effect on being kind to each other, respecting our planet, and I think you'll see that as we send more and more people to space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we're claiming you, Indian origin woman, you are ours, and you're the third, like I was saying, after Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams. They must have crossed your mind when you knew you were going on this trip, when you were preparing for this trip. 2 very different stories. What are your thoughts about them before you went up?
I have wanted to be an astronaut since I was young, and I was studying the careers of the Apollo astronauts and those that stepped foot on the moon. And as much as I respect what they did, they're definitely pioneers. It didn't really feel, I didn't connect with their journey. It felt so different than what I was, my journey and my identity. And it really wasn't until I saw Dr. Kalpana Chawla where I saw a woman, an incredible woman, a pioneer that I shared an identity with.
Yes.
Where I saw that becoming an astronaut wasn't just a dream, it could be a goal that is attainable. So I was, I've never met Dr. Kalpana Chawla, but, she's had such a profound effect on my life and my career. And, my journey puts that same perspective for so many other people where they can share an identity and see a journey for themselves.
Absolutely. So many little girls dreaming of space know that one day.
One day, yeah. And it's interesting because it really is a mental barrier. It's not that wasn't a physical barrier there keeping me from pursuing being an astronaut, but something about seeing someone I could actually see myself in their shoes just made it so much easier for me.
That's what representation is really all about. When you see somebody who looks like you going there,
yes,
you know it's possible.
Yes, absolutely.
They showed it was possible.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And what were the preparations you had to make? Because of course it's not catching a bus, it's not hailing an auto. You went up there, you had time in zero gravity. What were the preparations you had to make, physical and mental, for this journey?
Yeah, and that's actually the best thing about Virgin Galactic. We have a training program built into the entire experience. So for myself and my crew, we were on this flight to do a job. We were checking out the interiors.
Yes.
I was doing an experiment. So we had very intricate choreography throughout the cabin. So we started training about 2 months ahead of the flight. Part of it was going on a parabolic flight and experiencing microgravity and making sure we knew and were comfortable moving around in
Were you
microgravity.
comfortable?
Yes, I'm made for zero G.
You're made for zero G, okay?
I am made for floating around.
It does sound good.
It was amazing. I love it. It's my environment. So we did the parabolic flight, did zero G, and then Colin and I, my crewmate, got together. We have a mock-up in our facility where it's just basically the interior cabin where we practiced our choreography. We had our flight suits. We got to know all of the operational procedures. But another part you actually mentioned was the mental preparation. And part of our training is that. You've got the physical preparation, the operational preparation, but there's also a mental aspect for preparing yourself for that transformational journey. And we were able to talk to people that have gone through the experience before. We were able to sit down with teammates at Virgin Galactic and talk about what this journey actually meant for us.
Okay.
And sitting down, actually spending time in, the hectic, every day is hectic.
Yes. Yes.
But carving out time to write it out, talk about what your goals are, what this means for you, really, really helped prepare me emotionally and mentally for this.
Now, ticket sales have begun for people to become future astronauts. What will they be able to experience? If they do buy this ticket, get on this ride, get all the preparation done, what will they be able to experience?
Yeah, I'm so excited to share this experience with so many more people. A lot of people think the journey starts when you take off from the runway,
okay.
But the journey actually starts when you decide you want to become a future astronaut with Virgin Galactic. And as a Virgin business, we value the customer experience. It's our product. And as soon as you decide you want to become a future astronaut with Virgin Galactic, you're taken in with the team, you're introduced to the community with people that are also going to space to talk about each person's personal journey, and you'll have that communication with the team.
How long
until
is
you
this
fly.
entire process?
So it depends on when you decide to, as soon as you decide to buy a ticket, you're introduced into the community. When you're about to go to space, you'll arrive about 5 days ahead of time, and you'll have 5 days of training before taking the space flight.
And then, of course, the actual experience.
And then the actual experience, which is, incredible. It's 90 minutes.
Yes.
So you take off from a runway like you would on a normal airliner. And during the climb up, you have time to talk to your crewmates. If you're a researcher or a scientist, you have some time to do some final preparations. And then you have the release. After all the safety checks, they release the spacecraft from the mothership. And you have a few seconds of free fall. And then the rocket motor lights, and you have 60 seconds of boost. And as an aerospace engineer, we talk about the microgravity portion, the view of Earth, but that boost phase where I had the power of the rocket motor behind me, and I can see in my window the sky that I've looked up at every day, the blue sky transitioning into the blackness of space was just, it's an incredible moment that's been etched into my memory.
And people who want to be space tourists, who want to go up there, do they have to be supremely fit?
No, so that is part of opening space up for all. Is my journey was because I wanted to be a NASA astronaut, but I was disqualified because of my eyesight. So I chose at that point the non-traditional route of going through commercial space. But commercial space is becoming the norm. It's becoming the method that we all use for space travel. And part of opening space up for all is not to put limitations on who can go.
So you don't have to be a young gym rat with zero body fat?
I'm not a young gym rat with zero body fat. So no, you do not need to.
That is good to know. But you've talked about the excitement of going up, but is space tourism really going to be a reality? What is the current cost for this experience with Virgin Galactic?
So Virgin Galactic's tickets are $450,000. We have over 800 people signed up.
Wow.
And really, you look at the market, there's multiple companies offering space tourism experiences. And, competition is great. It shows that there is a healthy market out there. And yeah, so, as we build out our fleet, we have 2 spaceships. One's about to go into flight test. The other one's completing its flight test. We're going to build more spaceships, more motherships, reach a flight cadence of 400 flights. Okay. And as we reach that scale, we hope to see the price of it come down as well.
Down from $450,000, which is, not everybody has that in their back pocket. So it's still quite a lot.
Yes,
but you've got 800 people signed up for that already. Okay. And you do think costs will go down?
Yeah, as we scale, I see the hope is that all of the costs will come down. And, one other portion of the access to space is also on the science and research side. Yes. So for scientists and researchers, this is an opportunity that they don't get. Typically, you have a payload, a research experiment, and you take it to an agency, ISRO, ESA, NASA, and they'll send it up to space and you collect the data. But now with suborbital systems, a researcher can conduct field research in space. You can go with your experiment.
You said you had conducted an experiment there when you went.
Yes. So I had taken up plants, and basically they were genetically modified to express certain genes in response to the environment. So we were looking at which genes were expressed in microgravity, in high G, and also comparing it to 1G, so that in the future, when astronauts take trips to the moon, to Mars, they'll have fresh food. But also what we've learned from that data being collected is that you can help people on Earth find arid communities that are hit hard by climate change, or provide plants, agriculture that's sustainable and can provide food security for communities.
That's right. So going up, it's not just about looking out of the window and gasping at the view.
Yep.
It's also scientific, even for organizations who want to spend that almost $500,000 to go up.
Yeah,
there's also that market.
$500,000, I know it is expensive, but it's actually a fraction of the cost of alternatives. Going to orbit is much more expensive. So for someone that needs that microgravity environment to conduct research, it's a good deal.
It's a steal.
It's a steal.
It's a bargain.
Yeah.
So far you're talking about people, whether it's tourists or whether it's people conducting an experiment. Is the business model all about taking people up for Virgin Galactic? Is that how?
Yeah, people and research and scientific payloads. We've had a lot of the community want to use our vehicle for iterating technologies, so testing technologies in a microgravity environment before they put it out into the field. So it's been people for tourism purposes, people for research purposes, and also payloads that run by themselves.
Other private aerospace companies also launch satellites. Are you doing that? Do you plan to do that?
No, not at this moment. We are focusing on scaling up our suborbital system and our suborbital business.
So right now it's people.
People, and research payloads, of course.
Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there was that race between the billionaires, Richard Branson and Elon Musk, to actually get up there in their own craft. Richard Branson won this one. What was the feeling like in the company at that stage?
I think it was a good win for everybody. And it wasn't that Richard Branson was first. It's a milestone for the company that we were able to send people to space in the cabin, because we're a human space flight. Galactic is a human space flight company. No matter if it's a test flight or a flight with customers, there's always 2 pilots. So, I don't really like the term race, because for us, we weren't racing. We weren't going to do anything if we weren't ready, because we know the value of the human life. The value of the team and processes, and put safety as our foundation of our culture. And I know people think it's not fast enough, but we're not going to do anything we're not ready to do.
Better not rush out there.
It was really a coincidence on timing that we flew in July, and then the other companies flew afterwards.
Okay, all right. And I can't help but ask, Richard Branson, this larger-than-life multi-billionaire, what is he like?
He's such a good guy.
A good guy.
He's a great guy. But what I've learned so much from being one of his crewmates. He is a customer experience architect. He's done it successfully in so many of his companies. So his being on the flight, providing feedback, taking the first trip so that he can experience it and then pass it on to all of the customers after him was a great data point for us.
So the whole airline experience and all that would have.
Yeah, hotel experience, everything. Richard is the king of hospitality, and what we're providing, of course, is a space flight, but it's a customer experience.
And of course, comparisons are inevitable.
Yep.
Between Branson and Elon Musk. How would you compare and contrast the two men in their styles of working from what you've seen, of course, from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen from the outside, it's every product is different. I mean, Richard and Virgin Galactic especially are focusing on a holistic customer experience journey that starts, again, well before the vehicle starts on the runway. SpaceX, Elon Musk, is his focus is to get humans to be a multiplanetary species. He is working on vehicles that will get us to Mars and that will settle us in Mars. So it's really different products. Again, competition is very healthy in the marketplace.
Competition, that's what I wanted to ask. Is there much overlap between what you and SpaceX do, Virgin Galactic and SpaceX, or is there much competition there? How?
Not really. So we focus on the suborbital journey for space tourism purposes. Yeah. SpaceX has been doing satellite launches to date and has been a contractor for NASA for a lot of their missions. So not too much, but honestly, I mean, the space community, we all, especially on the policy side, work together to create policies that are conducive to innovation and a private sector capabilities that can supplement government capabilities.
So you might lobby together when it's a common cause.
Yeah, of course.
Now, we've been to space and back. I'm going back to the beginning. Yep. You're a Guntur girl.
Yep.
You're from Andhra Pradesh. What was the journey like? You were there for the first 5 years of your life. In small towns, I'm guessing, to up there.
I was born in Chirala, and one of my earliest memories is during one of the power outages, one of the blackouts, and I remember sleeping on my grandfather's and my grandmother's rooftop. Yeah. And the stars, I don't remember ever seeing stars so bright. When there's no light pollution, they just almost seem like they're laying on your face. And I think that was really what first planted the seed, seeing the stars in India so bright. It made me curious, what's out there, and I wanted to be among them.
You said you had the dream from the time you were a little girl?
Yeah, and so I don't really know when I decided I wanted to be an astronaut, but I do remember this memory of when I wanted to start exploring what's out there.
What would you like to say to other little girls and boys who have that dream? What would you like to say to them if they're sitting there looking at the night sky and thinking someday?
I mean, my biggest advice is to, center yourself and follow your passion, because there's going to be ups and downs in every path you choose. But if you bring yourself back to what drives you and what your goal is, it's going to take you through the ups and the downs. And everyone's journey is different. I definitely looked at the pioneers before me to give me my first steps. But it took, charting out my own path to get to where I need. And I just want to say, everyone's journey is going to be different. Don't compare yourself. It's not a failure if you don't do the same thing as the person next to you, and you're going to have a brilliant journey regardless.
Every journey is individual.
Yes.
Like you said, you didn't go the NASA route, but you still made it to space.
Yes.
Absolutely. And we have, of course, in India, so many thousands and thousands of science graduates, engineering students. Do you see a growth in the number of women coming into STEM, coming into science, technology, engineering and maths? Or do you still think there is some kind of mind block?
I do see a growth, and it's due to representation, like Dr. Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams and Dr. Swati Mohan, like calling out from the Mars rover. I think that kind of representation is allowing young women to see themselves in this industry when they didn't think it was an opportunity before. But just like everything else, there's still a lot of work to do. Another piece of advice is always to find a mentor that's navigated some of the struggles before you, that can help you navigate some of the things that will come your way, because there's still a lot of work to do in that area.
And finally, if you get a chance, are you ready to go again?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's actually, so I got off the spacecraft. The first thing that happened was I saw my dad. He gave me the biggest hug.
Oh.
And then the second thing, I saw my CEO, and I said, wow, let's go again.
When do I go on next?
Yep, sign me up. I'm ready.
Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you.
So that young Indian woman you saw on that very first flight with Richard Branson going to the edge of space and back, she was with us here today. Sirisha, thank you so much for that lovely conversation, and I hope lots of young girls and boys feel that they can also do this wherever they are right now. Thank you for joining us today on NDTV.